Welcome to the New Club Champion UK Build Shop. I'm just on the whiteboards. I want to just talk about something which I think is really important. There's loads of new stuff coming out. There's tons of reviews on the Titleist TSR range, which is really good. But the thing that annoys me the most about fitting, or the fits that we see some people coming in saying they're not kind of happy with how it's working and what's going on, is how you layer a fit. Now this is something which is really simple to understand. Here's a graph, driver to wedge, 50 gram to 130 gram, which is basically a rough range of where you're dealing with. Too often we see guys coming in with a driver at say 50, 60 grams, and then a fairway wood at say 80 grams, or they might even have a 60 gram driver shaft, and then a 75 or 60 gram fairway shaft. So basically it should linear down. Now you often see people having this sort of effect, light, heavy, light, all over the place. At that point, it's all going to feel different. The secret in the sauce is to try and make sure that every club feels similar to the one it's next to, so you get that continuous feel of the set is balanced. Now, it's not about gapping or yardages, this is just purely about weight. Now, again, if you've got a 60 gram driver shaft, then possibly for you a 70 or 75, 3 wood would work for you, or maybe even high 60s, a little bit heavier, and then 5 wood, possibly the same shaft, or maybe even a touch heavier in that similar family. So all you're changing is a little bit of a heavier head, a bit more loft, and a slightly heavier shaft to balance it off. Then you drop into the hybrid, again, maybe even an 85, 90 gram shaft, or a little bit lighter if you're that way inclined. And then obviously down to the wedge. Now, there's one exception. If you are someone that's got no clubhead speed and is slow, so you're, I don't know, I should say a slightly older person, and your speed's gone, and you just at that point you are a flatliner. You're trying to keep the weight as light as you can. So at this point you're just working, rather than sideways, you're working vertical. So your driver, the fairway, they are all the same weight, or at least as light as possible, because you're trying to create as much speed as possible. So that customer or golfer, male or female, it's irrelevant, you'll just try and get as much speed out of those folks as you can. How many guys and girls have got no bunker play because they've got a 130 gram wedge shaft and they've got a 55 mile an hour clubhead speed, and they struggle to get out of a bunker? A surprise? It's not a surprise, because it's so slow into the sand, it hits, it just dies. So speed for those guys is the key, but for everybody else, you're trying to create a linear flow, if you like. Once you get this wave or a spike or some outlier, unless it's their favourite club they've ever used, you probably could say that's going to be a bad one for them. But that's something to think about in your own set, wherever you are in the graph, and take a view from there. But it's just a bit of information, because we see it too often and it annoys me.